be forgetful. So we are officially live. We are recording. The time is officially, 6:31 p.m. And if you weren't on time, you're late. So hey, sorry we started on time. Don't want to inconvenience others that actually made it out here. Want to be good stewards of your time and kick this thing off the right way. So welcome. For those you don't know me, my name is James Johnson. Everybody knows me as JJ, and I'm just a dude. I'm somebody who tries to do good things, in this space, keeping everybody, updated with the latest and greatest of what's going on, throughout the industry at different times. I post a lot of articles and stuff. I'm the CEO of Veteran Scientific Laboratories as well. We do full panel testing, heavy metals, pesticides, residual solvents, and we also test for fiber. A lot of you don't know about, the fiber and herd testing that we do that are on that side, but you'll learn about it more in the coming days. I'll probably touch on it a little bit by the end of this presentation. But for those of you that are new and don't, are trying to figure this thing out and different things, and you just heard about this thing called hemp, we're going to touch on one side of the plant this evening. We're going to really kind of focus. And for those of you that need like a good cannabis industry overview, just hit me up for my Hemp 101 seminar. I'll send that to you via a link, and you can look at that thing from start to finish where I talk about the entire industry. But right now, we're going to just kind of focus in, on a certain aspect of the industrial side. And to kind of set you guys up best for success, I'm going to hit screen share and just kind of show you a couple things to give you an idea of, to set, my buddy up for what his talk is going to be. Now, this is one version of a hemp plant that is under 0.3% under 0.3% THC. And that is not a midget in the picture. That's a full grown man. But this plant grows 15 to 20 feet tall. There are over 25,000 industrial uses for this plant right now worldwide. And a lot of people know that you can plant an acre of trees and an acre of fiber side by side and grow them. Well, if you cut down an acre of trees, it takes 15 to 20 years for an acre of trees to grow back. But you cut down an acre of hemp, every 90 to 120 days, you can go in and do the same thing again, basically get 3 to 4 times the amount of yield as you could an acre of trees. Now, anything made from paper can be made out of hemp. Anything made from plastic can be made from hemp. The first and second draft of Declaration of Independence is written on hemp paper. Look it up for yourself. In 1945, Henry Ford made a car called the Model T. The door panels were made out of a hemp resin, and it ran on hemp biofuels. So there's a lot of uses, for this plant. And with this plant, when you cut it, and if you turn it to the side, this is what you see. This is a side view of the stalk. Now, the outer portion of the stalk is something that we call bast fiber. Okay. And as you see there, bast fiber, think of it like celery. When you break celery stalks and you pull them apart, you got those strands, right? That's what bast fiber is. It's kind of those strands. And the center portion of the plant is what's called hurd. Okay. And hurd can be used to make things like plastics. The combination of hurd, lime, and water makes the substance called hempcrete that can be used to build houses out of hemp. And I've got pictures and all that stuff that I shared during my Hemp 101 seminars. So here's another picture of bast fiber separated from the hurd so that you can see what they look like separately. And here's another picture of bast fiber on the left versus hurd, which is in the middle. Now, to get to this point in the plant, you need amazing equipment to be able to separate the bast fiber from the hurd, because the plant, when you first harvest it, it has to lay in the fields, and they call it retting, but basically it's a rotting process where it has to rot a little bit in the fields to kind of get that bast fiber ready to be separated from the hurd. And once you do that, you have to have machines to actually go in and actually do that process. And here's just some pictures of some decortication equipment. These are some pictures from a friend of mine who has a decortication facility. And I just wanted you guys to see some pictures of what decortication equipment is. It actually looks like. And like I said, it's used in, door panels. Audi and BMW actually use hemp in their door panels, right now. A lot of amazing uses for that. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, kind of set this up, best for success. And when we talk about, decortication and putting a decortication facility together, guys, it's not an easy process. There's a lot of infrastructure. It's one of those things where, you have to have faith and you have to build it before they come. And I couldn't be prouder of my good buddy, Steve Halton. He's a CEO of CNY Hemp Processing. And, he's going to come out here and he's going to give you guys some information about a little bit about his background, how he got involved, some of the trials and tribulations that he's been through. And, and we're going to have open it up at the end for some Q&A. So, Steve, can you hear me okay?
There we go. Probably help if I unmuted myself, right?
Yeah. Now I can hear you just fine, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to, enlighten the masses on hemp fiber and hemp stalks and everything. I mean, that's that's my wheelhouse. I've loved hemp fiber. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I always considered myself as kind of like the odd one in the industry because I've been in this since 2017.
Oh, wow.
Everyone always said, why don't you get into CBD? And I'm happy that you mentioned, the 25,000 plus uses because I always said that hemp has 25,000 plus uses and CBD is one. So why not focus on the 24,999 other plus uses? So
there you go.
So I've actually got an agricultural background. I actually grew up in Las Vegas, and I used to come out to my family's dairy farm every summer. That was my summer vacations, was working on my family's dairy farm in the middle of central New York. And I just I loved agriculture. I ended up moving out to New York State to follow that dream. I went to a local university. I studied natural resource conservation, and then just kind of jumped in the real world. And I had an opportunity to kind of help out with the family farm. The farm had actually gone out of business in the late 90s, but my mom and I had gotten a historical barn grant to restore the barn. And actually, one thing led to another. My mom went to an auction. She bought some cattle. And then we started a farm, and it was a beautiful thing to kind of restore that family farm. And in 2017, New York State wanted to do a hemp pilot program, and I thought that was an opportunity to be able to grow hemp, being that I had a farm and I already sold hay to a lot of local other farms, and since the planting and harvesting is similar to hay, I thought that hemp would be a nice fit, into the farm. And when I went for the licensing, New York State Department of Ag and Markets said, that's great, but there's no processors for it. So I was like, well, that might be an opportunity. So, after doing some research and understanding, the basics as far as fiber processing, I understood that it was, after decortication, after that specialized piece of equipment for fiber processing, it's kind of the same as far as processing other natural fibers, whether it be in canaf or bamboo. But being in the Northeast, there's a lot of fiber-bearing animals, and a lot of my hay customers are sheep farmers, and they were throwing away their wool because there's no market for it. So I kind of figured that what I would do is I could do hemp part-time, kind of help out with developing a market for wool in the spring. I could still do my farm and hay during the summertime, and then winter was winter time was my hemp gig time. And after getting licensed, that wasn't true. I mean, it was 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, because I didn't realize that I was actually one of the first fiber processors in the United States. Minus there was a couple of other processors, but one of the first. So I mean, it's been a really beautiful journey. I mean, it's definitely been a lot of headaches. It's not as easy as everyone thinks. When I got into this, I kind of had my own field of dreams. I figured if I build the processing plant, everybody will come, everyone will be excited about it, and that really wasn't what happened at all. I really had to work on building a lot of infrastructure and a lot of education. A lot of people talk about dual purpose, the grain fiber cultivars. And so we did start doing some grain processing, which I would actually feed some of the byproducts of the grain processing to my cattle. and that kind of landed me on the Hemp Feed Coalition, which also connected me with a lot of other people in the fiber industry. And it just kind of snowballed from there. But understanding the way this plant works, led me into being on the Cornell Agricultural Advisory Committee, and we actually assist with some of the cannabis minor at some New York State universities. And as you can see behind me, I actually have some of the stages of the fiber. I ended up working with a local spinning mill, and they were already working with hemp fiber and wool. So I mean, like I said, it was kind of a perfect fit for us. So I kind of worked backwards from what they were getting from overseas to try to fit their needs and fill that gap. And I mean, I do have a picture of some of the raw fiber here, and then this is actually a hemp woven. So actually, after it's been decorticated, degummed, combed, and then there's some single twist thread, and then that's actually oh, my finger disappeared. Way over there is the hemp wool blended yarn that we've worked with the local spinning mill on. And and that's just made from the bast fiber. There's a lot of different uses that we've worked on as far as the hurd, or the center of the stalk, which is about 90% of the weight or the 90% of the mass as far as the hemp stalk goes. So obviously that's a very significant amount. So finding use for that was important. We were working with animal bedding, but then we did progress into bioplastics, which has been really exciting. The hemp plastics has been a lot of fun. We collaborated with another manufacturer making hemp plastics, hemp drinking straws and utensils, all certified by the state of California for at-home compostable within 180 days. So it's been a really fascinating journey that I had no idea. I mean, like I said, I thought hemp was going to be a part-time job, and it's turned into so much more than that. And I mean, but it's definitely it's definitely a trying industry. I'm glad that you mentioned about retting. Retting is a huge part of fiber processing, because that's really what creates the quality of the fiber, and also makes it, whether it's going to be easier to process or what the end use is. And that's one thing with the farmers. I didn't actually get licensed to grow hemp until about a year after CNY hemp processing was incorporated. I didn't really want to get into vertical integration. I wanted to create an opportunity for farmers, having the agricultural background. I really wanted to help farmers, but also understanding that there's so many different qualities of fiber. And I mean, again, being a farmer, I look at it as like the beef industry. There's different grades of beef, there's different grades of fiber. So, I mean, there is some fiber that comes through our facility that might be really good for textiles. And then there's other stuff that would be a lower quality that might be for like non-wovens that could go into, either felt or filters, air filters or whatnot. And then, also going some of the shorter lengths of fiber that could go into some of those body panels like BMW is using and stuff. So, I mean, but it's really awesome that there's so many uses for it, and it really is a green initiative. And I mean, I've never really been like, I mean, obviously, the planet isn't important, I mean, without us, without saving the planet, there's nothing here. But I wasn't like huge on a green initiative, but understanding that, I mean, the capabilities of just hemp in general. I mean, being a soil remediator and I mean, everything. I mean, I look at the fields that we grow hemp on, and the soil is better when we're done than when we started. I mean, that's, another pitch that we did with, proper crop rotation with farmers, because, I mean, I remember the first time when we opened our first facility. We're on to our second facility now, shooting for a third soon, hopefully, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Yes. Yeah. And, when I opened the first facility, I'd be out at like the local diner or whatever, and someone would say, "Hey, aren't you that hemp guy? I've got 2,000 acres. I'd love to grow, 2,000 acres for you." And I'm like, "No, just start with 20 acres. Just get your feet wet. Try 20 acres. Don't do all that. I mean, I would love to see a lot more farmers, be able to do that. I mean, we have our own our own goals of getting to certain acreage, but it's tough. And I mean, I still try to do what I can for farmers. We actually just purchased a bunch of seed from Ukraine, trying to do our part to support Ukraine.
Nice.
We've given a lot of opportunities to farmers where we do discounted rates. I mean, we offer lots of different programs to be able to help farmers, because it's really taking a lot of the risk. We try to take a lot of the risk off of the farmer, so then they'll actually grow for us. And then when they see the benefits of it, they want to grow again, to try to build that industry and infrastructure. So, and then, now in New York State with legalization, that's kind of created a whole nother interesting aspect as far as the hemp industry here, because focusing on fiber cultivars, if it's grown specifically for a high quality textile quality fiber, we're harvesting before it goes into that reproductive cycle. So there's a lot less of a chance of cross pollination. I mean, obviously, being that there's a lot more tax money in adult use marijuana than there is in hemp. I guess, I just don't.
That's only right. Look, that's only right now. That's
Yeah.
only right now.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, no, and honestly, when you look at your ROI, or return on investment, when you get into this, when you break down the numbers with hemp fiber specifically, and you look at how much money it takes to actually plant and grow and harvest that, the investment is relatively low, but your return is pretty high. I mean, that's something that I've talked to people about. I mean, even with like CBD or any cannabinoid, whether it being THC or CBD, CBN, CBG, it doesn't matter. Well, when you're growing for cannabinoids, there's so much money that goes into growing that and harvesting it and curing it and everything else, where fiber, you plant it like hay. You go out with a grain drill, you plant it, and then you cut it, you let it red out in the field, and you bale it and you sell it, and you're done. I mean, it's all mechanical, it's all traditional agriculture. So I mean, and honestly, I mean, I'm not going to disclose prices right now, but because who knows when someone's going to see this video again. So I don't want to be caught off guard with, with pricing of this year. But I mean, if anyone is interested in that, feel free to email me or reach out. We have a cool toll-free number, 833-24/7 hemp. It took a lot to pay for that toll-free number, and I'm happy to have 24/7 hemp. So if anyone's ever interested, feel free to give us a call. So, but no, that's pretty much what we have going on. I mean, like I said, there's a few things up and coming, but we can discuss that in a little bit.
Yeah. So real quick, Steve, I wanted, because some of these people, it's their first time, they're just getting started, and I don't want people to get the wrong impression. Like, if you've never grown for fiber before in your particular part of the country, mm-hmm. in terms of doing like a seed variety trial, mm-hmm. talk to us about that real quick. Like, you don't want to plant 30-40 acres of this shit if you don't even know if the seeds are going to grow out of the ground, right?
Yeah. So I mean, genetics is important, and again, genetics is important whether you're growing for fiber, for grain, for cannabinoids. I mean, and a lot of times when I talk to people, I mean, being in the Northeast, I mean, it's like, would you want to try to grow oranges in New York? I mean, there's no way that it would work. So you want to find a cultivar that does work well in your area. And I mean, there are some reputable seed companies that will talk to you about those genetics, because I mean, I've had some cultivars. So again, working with universities, we usually do anywhere from 8 to 12 different varieties each year, just to see how they work. And I mean, we do nitrogen trials, because nitrogen is really the big important end as far as getting a solid yield out of it, because it does grow so fast. So we want high nitrogen. I've had some stuff that'll grow to only 2 or 3 feet, just because it might be a cultivar that was meant for another different region. And then I've had some stuff that will actually grow, we've had that 20-foot tall stuff. But I mean, Also, I mean, some of those tall cultivars aren't necessarily, great for what our end purpose is. So I mean, I guess when someone is starting out, the best thing to do is to talk to the processor. I mean, having a good conversation with the processor and understanding what they want, what their guidelines are. Like I said, I mean, the whole grading. There are some farmers that, I mean, I have a soft spot for farmers because I am one. And it's tough to say, hey, this wasn't done properly or this wasn't grown properly. And same thing, like some of those taller, those taller cultivars are great for photo ops, but they're not necessarily great for textile quality fiber, because what happens is, to be able to support that much weight, of the stalk, there's a lot of lignin in there. And that lignin is kind of the connective stuff between the fiber. And when you get a lot of that lignin in there, it's really hard to degum and comb and card, for a textile end. So even though you're producing, this amazing amount of long fiber, the fiber actually breaks down and it's tough to process. A lot of the stuff that we process is generally around 8 to 10 feet tall and about the diameter of a pencil. I mean, I've seen some of these taller stalks that are as big around as your wrist, but that's not always, but again, it all depends on what your processor is processing for, so.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, Steve. Now, this is not a shameless plug, but I think this is the perfect time for me to talk about the fiber testing that we actually do at Veteran Scientific Laboratories too, because you mentioned one of the parameters that we actually test for. We test for lignin, So when someone has their fiber tested with us, and I'm just going to kind of share the screen here really fast, we give you some, we call it a value sheet, but most people know from the cannabis side, they know COAs. So basically we give you a COA, so to speak, for your fiber. We test for moisture content, total extractable oils, total proteins, free amino acids. We test for total pectins, tensile strength, hemicellulose, acid soluble lignin. We test for this stuff. Holocellulose. We test for ash content. We test for carbon sequestration. All of these people applying for these grants for, carbon initiatives and things like that, we actually test that parameter. And we also test particle size, distribution, as well. And one that's not on the screen that we just started testing for as well is silica content. Because a lot of people, and I have to talk to my buddy James Gaspar of Biochar Now. A lot of people want to take hemp and they want to start using it for products like biochar. Well, because if the silica content is so high, that stuff that you produce with biochar could be worse than asbestos. So our reports give you a good overall snapshot of how good that crop that you grew is, so you can give that to someone like Steve and say, hey, here's my report card for my crop. Is this something that you need? And like for people like Steve, if they have these results, we give you a QR code on that report as well. So once it's decorticated, separated fiber from the herd, you can put that QR code on the bags, and whoever buys your bags, you can tell that, they can tell right away how good of a quality what they just purchased is in that particular bag, or that for that particular crop. Things like that are what it needed to help, those on the fiber and grain side out to further their cause with their crops.
Yeah, that's definitely a valuable, a valuable tool. And I'm really happy that you guys are doing that. And I mean, honestly, that'll save a lot of time as far as our grading process. I mean, especially understanding, cultivar specific, because like I said, I mean, I've seen the difference between so many different cultivars. And I'm sorry if cultivar, I've been, working with universities and things like that, but strain or species or however you want to put it. So, and I mean, I've seen a lot of differences just between, those cultivars, and then even, even different fields, different locations and, the different nutrients. It all changes what you put into it. And I mean, it's, and like I said, I mean, it's been such a fun journey as far as, our processing end, because I remember, I ordered our first decorticator in, I think it was 2018. I ordered it from China. I know, but at that time there was no, and all my friends would give me a hard time and say, why didn't you buy American? Well, there wasn't anyone making one in America at that point, much less North America. I mean, the hemp train was still a concept, at that point. So,
had no choice.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I did get what I paid for, but I got a lot of education out of it. We've actually rebuilt that machine 5 times now. It actually works in reverse of what it's designed. I think the only thing that's original on it is, a couple of pieces of sheet metal and, the telltale Chinese yellow and blue coloring that's on there. Where honestly, we thought about repainting that, maybe one of the school colors of what we work with, and let them use that for a demonstration, because with all the research that we've been doing, and honestly, this is the first time that I'm mentioning this publicly, is we've actually designed a decorticator, and it's being built right now this year. So yeah, it's really exciting, because taking all the work that we've done, with the spinning mill, and understanding what they want, and understanding how many machines it actually takes to take the raw fiber all the way to, a usable product. Not just the decortication method, but also, encompassing so many other machines that are needed to get down to that textile quality. And in fact, even having the opportunity to be able to add on to it and blend other natural fibers, because I really feel like blends are the way to go. I mean, there's really, any hemp products out there really, I mean, it's tough to do 100% hemp. As exciting as it is and as cool as it would be to do 100% hemp. I mean, just a little, dose of reality as far as, working in the industry, but blends are the way to go. I'm not saying, blending with, nasty materials and things like that, but just, like the yarn, it works well with the blended wool and hemp, cotton and hemp. They're great blends for textiles. I mean, even the plastics that we do are not 100% hemp. Those are, they're a blend of, well, I don't know, I might be giving away proprietary stuff, but they're actually a blend of kenaf and sugarcane and hemp. Not going to give out the percentages, but that's the way that works. And I mean, I know that there are companies that are doing 100% hemp, but some of the companies that are really reputable that are doing 100% hemp are actually from like Europe and things like that, as far as the textile ends go. But I mean, honestly, the way that you're going to get hemp that you want to use on a daily basis, regarding whatever product it is, whether it's something that's in your car, right now you're not going to make a 100% hemp car, because you're going to have to blend it with other things to be able to make that product. And it's the same thing to be able to make this work. And honestly, like I said, building infrastructure and industry for all these other markets, there's still people in my area that are throwing away wool. And honestly, like I'd love to send out samples of this hemp wool yarn to everybody, because I know a lot of people, probably cringe at the thought of wool. JJ, I'm sure you dealt with a lot of fun wool things being in the service, and I guarantee it doesn't feel the same, and I'm more than happy to send out samples to anybody. Feel free to contact, because that's the way. I get it in people's hands, and everyone in on this call, on this Zoom, they get their hands on this stuff. They might get ideas, they might get inspired, and it could lead into something. Whether it's something to where my company benefits, it doesn't really matter, because I just want to build industry and infrastructure, and that's really what we've been doing since day one.
and how, once again, like I said, I'm not necessarily trying to get in the middle of anybody on this call and broker, shit back and forth. I'm just, hell no. That is a dirty B word to me that I don't want anything to do with. So how do people get in contact with you if they want to get those samples that you request, that you talked about?
Sure. I mean, so you can find CNY Hemp Processing on Facebook. If you want to, you can send a message out. The toll-free number, 833-24/7-HEMP. You can go to the website, cnyhempprocessing.com. You can send a message. You can also purchase it. We do have a retail company. It's funny because you say the nasty B word of being a broker. I would talk to a lot of farmers, not just in New York State, but in the Northeast, kind of in the beginning. And I would go out and do consulting. And I feel like that's a nasty, C word, because I feel like anyone that's grown pot in their closet calls himself a consultant. So we turned into advisors. But a lot of people would ask like where to buy machines, where to buy some of the products. So we actually started a retail company. It's called My Hemp Depot. If you want to check out myhempdepot.com, the yarn is on there, the straws are on there, the utensils are on there. And then there is some machines and stuff. In fact, I mean, if you guys send out a message or something like that, just let me know, and I'll give you a special promo code just for watching this. Maybe we'll do a promo code, just JJ or something. I'll start.
Yeah, promo code JJ. That way they're tied to me. Hook your boy up.
Yeah, I'll do that. Give me if anyone's going to do that on myhempdepot.com, give me until tomorrow morning, at least before you start looking for the JJ promo code. But I'm happy to do that. And JJ, I appreciate you having me here. And
thank you, man. I appreciate
that. That's the least I can do. I can let you know how everything pans out, and we'll continue working together. So
yeah. Can we do JJGRO?
Yeah. Yep. That's fine.
That's my jam right there. Yep. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So everybody take note of that. That's going to be our promo code tomorrow.
Promo code JJGRO. I like it. I like it a lot. And so you said you're building, decortication equipment currently, yourself. Is there anything, I don't know, man, I'm kind of weird because like everybody who gets on these calls, I don't care about everybody who gets on the call. I care about the new person who's hearing this stuff for the first time, and they're not tainted, and they're trying to learn things the right way from the beginning before they develop any bad habits, So with that being said, real quick, I'll be remiss if we didn't talk about the decortication facility versus the radius to your facility from a logistical standpoint, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So logistics, that's probably a naughty word too.
Dirty L word.
Yeah. And I so when I first started, I probably burn up about 60% of my budget just on logistics, because I was taking on the responsibility of trucking everything. And but it was so new, and I was trying to help farmers out again, but it's expensive, especially with fiber. Grain is a little bit easier to truck because you can go a little bit further, you can fit a lot more weight on a truck or a train or however it may go. I know that there's kind of like a golden rule of 50 miles, and that's a pretty good, basis as far as, being within 50 miles of the processor, just to make sure that it doesn't cost, as much money for logistics. That being said, I've had people truck stuff for, I've seen stuff come from almost 1,000 miles away. We've actually trucked material from almost the entire East Coast. So, it's not unheard of, but I guess really you have to look at the logistics cost. And if you're just getting into this, and that's a solid conversation to have with your processor, who covers trucking, because if someone's offering you a price, if the processor's offering you a price, take that logistics into consideration, because it can cost money to truck that many bales, per trip, depending on what size truck you're going to use. I mean, we've rented semis. I've even bought a couple of trailers. We bought a few trucks to do our own runs. I mean, it kind of all depends, but that's definitely a huge cost, especially when you're looking at how many bales per acre.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get too far into how many bales per acre, because again, that's kind of cultivar specific, and and I mean, it's I've seen anywhere from, we do round bales. So, and that works well for our decortication method, which again, that's an important conversation to have with a processor if you're just getting started, is how they want to bale. We do round bales because we get longer lengths of fiber, because it's wrapping around and kind of rolling around itself. You get longer lengths of fiber. But you don't get as many bales on a truck with round bales as you do the square bales. But again, it's the higher quality. It's more of a higher value product that we're getting out of it. So again, we're paying a little bit more for round bales versus someone who might pay for square bales. So I mean, hopefully that helps out as far as the logistics talk.
So in terms of a radius to, like, I've been telling people, I've been stretching it by saying 250 miles away from a decortication facility. I tell people, you're further than that, it's not worth it for you to grow it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So what I mean, so you're saying a 50-mile radius outside of your facility in particular?
Well, I mean, 50 miles is probably the most feasible as far as like if the grower is paying for the logistics. I mean, we do offer, we will truck bales. It doesn't matter. Like I said, we've gone 1,000 miles to go and pick up bales. I mean, just because there aren't a lot of farmers. And I mean, and again, to try to sweeten the deal, that's another reason why we started buying seed and offering those special prices, for farmers. Now, granted, we do price breaks on the mileage that we have to truck the grain, but sometimes, sometimes we'll pay more if someone's further away, but really just having that conversation, because, I mean, I've seen some people truck fiber like a very long distance, and that was at the farmer's cost. And we try to work with the farmer. I mean, this year we have growers. Geez, you know what? I bet you some of our growers are 400 to 500 miles away. So I mean, it's really just like a sweet spot would be 50 miles. I mean, if a grower is 50 miles within that processor, they're in a really optimal sweet spot to be able to really capitalize, I guess, on a contract. To be able to make sure that it's really financially feasible for them. That's all. I mean, it's just the most beneficial. Again, it all depends on what the agreement is. I mean, get contracts with a processor.
Yep.
We offer all sorts of different contracts. Like I said, I mean, we offer contracts to where people buy seed from us, and then we also have contracts to where we provide the seed for them, and that's a flat rate of paying per acre for someone to grow.
Right.
I mean, we understand what the costs are, and it's trying to make it financially feasible and to where a farmer wants to grow for us.
Right.
So if they're not making money, they're not going to grow again for us. So there's no point.
Absolutely. And I hate to kind of interrupt or kind of shift gears a little bit, but I see something starting to go down in the chat, and I'm just going to ask you guys to not do that, because if you want to remain on this talk, I do not want anyone talking about their other business endeavors and what they have going on. You're not going to stand on my shoulders to see out over the crowd. Okay. We're here to talk about this and this only. And if you're not here to talk about this, you need to remove yourself before I remove you, because I will, and I've got no problem with it. So I'm just throwing that out there because I am an asshole. Yes, I am, and I will do it. I don't care. So I'm just asking you guys to be respectful of this talk and this ain't a network this is opportunity for you to talk to an expert about decortication. Period. Enough said. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay. So all right, now that I'm now that I'm off of that, getting back to this. In terms of what was the other question that I was gonna ask? I want to make sure we open this thing up, for Q&A, for you, as well. Do you have any other topics that you wanted to discuss, or any pictures, or anything that you wanted to share, before, we kind of open it up for Q&A for people?
I mean, really just, as we're going through the expansion, and, we are looking at our third facility, and the new decorticator. I just want people to know that these decorticators are going to be for sale. So, I mean, if anyone is interested in possibly getting into that, purchasing the machines or more information about them, I mean, I've tried to design it from our, our experience, and, and experiences that we've dealt with, not just with fiber processors in the United States, but also in Europe, and really trying to solve as many problems as we can, but also to make it affordable. I mean, I know it sounds kind of crazy. I mean, whenever we talk about buying a decorticator, anytime you can buy one for under $1 million, it's a steal, because honestly, the ones over, especially in Europe, are $2 to $5 million. So we've tried to come up with something that would be, efficient and effective, both on a ROI, or return on investment, or just a financially feasible option. It's not just for a processor, but for farmers, because honestly, it's important to build that infrastructure. And even as a processor, even though we make end products out of the stuff, I would much rather buy processed herd and fiber and pay a premium for those. And plus, again, we talked about logistics. It's a whole hell of a lot easier to truck a truckload of herd than it is a truckload of bales. And it's the same thing. I'd rather truck fiber, I mean, and that way the farmers are more profitable. And I mean, again, that's where my, I have that soft spot for farmers. I mean, I would love to see these decorticators be similar to a piece of farm equipment. I mean, and that's one thing. Like, we talk about, the hemp industry, and why it's where it's at. And honestly, prohibition was the biggest thing that hurt the hemp industry, because if you look at the time frame where hemp was made illegal, I mean, that's when farmers were doing the research in their farms, and building equipment and processes, in their farms and on their farms, which are practices that we use today, or led to the basics as far as the farm equipment and the processes that we use today. So, I mean, I'm trying to bring that back to the farmer. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, if anyone's interested, feel free to reach out and talk to us. I mean, it's.
I see a question here. Hey, Nate, you want to unmute and ask your question if your background noise is good. Nathan Murphy had a question.
Hey, Steve, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think we've spoken on the phone, but it's been a little while. Last I remember speaking to you, you were talking about, or you showed some videos on like green stripping stalks. Would be my first question. Is that still something that you were looking at, or I was just curious, sort of, if you found anything interesting in that when you were doing that?
So, I mean, our, the decorticator that we have, I have videos of that thing on YouTube, and probably saw some of the pictures and stuff. I think that's around the time that we had talked. That machine was actually designed for the green material. And although it was nice because I got really long lengths of fiber, I mean, I was getting, 10-foot lengths of fiber, which was amazing. Wow. Fiber.
That's really long.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. And, but the thing is that I don't see, and this is just a personal opinion, you don't have to quote me or anything like that, but in my opinion, I just don't think that it's a feasible business model to be able to process green material. Just because you look at the amount of labor that it takes to be able to harvest and then process the green material. It just wasn't it wasn't an avenue that we were thinking about going down. I mean, that being said, after this decorticator that we're building, after that one's built, we did talk about like a smaller model that would be able to do both retted and unretted or green material. and even talked about making it like PTO driven. So it could be something that a tractor could hook up to, because I mean, if I do think that I think there's a lot of opportunity with processing green material for like hobby farms and things like that, especially if you're getting into like hempcrete, because the green material is really great to process if you're trying to get clean herd, you know. And I mean, honestly, that's one thing that I've seen a lot of luck in, is we don't have to clean the herd. You know, so there's no classification systems that we have to do. There's no additional cleaning systems when you're processing green or unredded material. So I mean, that I feel like there's an opportunity for it, but like I said, I don't.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so I had a couple follow-up questions, but man, really great information. I appreciate you so much. On your decorticator, is it bale specific, round or square? And then what was the cost? Were the two questions I had on that.
So we this machine is the decorticator that we're building is geared more towards round bales. And again, that's just because, you know, I feel like hemp textiles is really my brass ring. You know what I mean? So shooting for those really long lengths of fiber that can go into textiles or fabrics. And that's where I felt like the round bales was the best way to go. You know, and also, I mean, as far as the price goes, I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, I can say that it's under $1 million. You know, I mean, I'd like to say it's closer to $500,000, but it's tough because even our equipment build has gone up by $100,000, just because you know, some of the modifications to make it an ease of use. I mean, really what we were trying to do, or what I was trying to do, is make a machine that would process a ton an hour, which kind of seems to be the financial sweet spot as far as how much you can process. And I wanted to make it so it was an ease of operation, so loading tables and things like that. So one person can operate the machine instead of having a lot of labor that goes into it, even to where one person could operate multiple machines. And the reason that I did that was that, you know, if someone's building a processing facility, which our next facility we're looking at doing, you know, probably around 10 tons an hour. So then it would be 10 of the decorticators. And the reason that I like, you know, the 1 ton an hour mark is, let's say one decorticator breaks down. So then if we have 10 of these going, then we're processing 9 tons an hour. If we buy a decorticator that does 10 tons an hour and that machine breaks down, we're processing no tons per hour. So I tried to make it so, you know, it was, you know, a minimal amount of labor. I mean, I'm not against creating jobs or anything like that, but it's just, you know, I wanted to make sure that it was simple and that it would be, you know, it wouldn't tear down the whole facility if there was a breakdown. You know, I mean, honestly, a lot of what we've been doing, even part of the manufacturing process, is just building spare parts so we're ready in the event that anything breaks down. Because honestly, with the decorticator and farming, I mean, I sometimes ask myself what came first, you know, farming or Murphy's Law, because anything that can go wrong will go wrong, you know, not just in farming.
Amen to that.
Yeah, but also decortication. You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a video that we have on our YouTube channel that's under, you know, CNY Hemp Processing. The decorticator is called Proud Mary, and you can just search CNY Hemp Processing, Proud Mary. Got a big river wheel on the end. I just always wanted that river wheel to keep spinning. There's a lot of outtakes that are not posted, and a lot of swear words, you know, when that thing seized up or something. I mean, it's, like I said, it's broken down so many times, and we've built it in reverse, or it runs in reverse. But I mean, and that, again, that's where I felt that it was necessary from my experience to be able to build a machine that would fill in those gaps.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your question, and thank you, JJ.
No problem, brother. Good to see you, man. Hope to see you. Are you coming to Tennessee for that that Southeast Hemp Expo? Or South
that's one in
Tennessee.
Is that in August, right?
Yeah, it's like August 18th through the 20th.
I've got plans through July, but I haven't got that far in my planning yet, so I'm not sure yet. But
right on, cool. We'll maybe see you there. If not, it's all good.
You guys are good. I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Hey man, we're not that busy, so
Yeah.
we can kind of see out further. I mean,
Yeah.
Nah.
Hemp. I know that's what I'm doing tomorrow is hemp.
uh, does anybody else have, I mean, amazing questions, amazing discussion going back and forth, and I want to continue to see that. Um, does anyone else have any questions? I see someone raise their hand. So whoever raised their, Keith and Sherry Reed, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, JJ, Steve, thank you guys for this this amazing information. For first, my wife and I were here, and I'm sorry, we're taking our afternoon walk, so we're gonna stop here for a moment.
Man, dude, I mean, you don't need to walk. I'm looking at your arms on this picture. Damn, man.
That's how they stay there, JJ.
Jesus.
So thank you. So we are new at all of this. In 2019, we started partnering with Okish Mountain Farm, which is great friends of ours, family. We personally have a fashion brand, Zero Effects, that partner with Okish Mountain. My question is on the fashion side, because that's my forte. As far as the processing into actual fabric, linens, what would you say is the best blend for, say, a cotton, or not cotton, a hemp shirt, hemp jeans? I mean, we're doing everything. Think of anything that you can see in a department store. That's what we're doing. So we're starting with the t-shirts. What would you say would be the best processing? I heard earlier mixing with wool, and other things like that. We're trying to find that blend to start off with, to be able to push our brand as a hemp brand, as a save the earth brand, aka everything else is sustainable. So yeah, sorry for the long question, but what would you say is the best?
Well, so I mean, honestly, I would rather ask you, what do you think would be the best? I mean, you're the one that has the you have the brand. You know what you want. I mean, we blend with wool, and that's just because there's a lot of fiber bearing animals in the Northeast. I mean, being where you're at, whatever natural fibers you have access to. I mean, if you want to blend with cotton, I mean, obviously whatever you blend with and the percentage of blend is going to change the feel of what the material is, you know what I mean? And honestly, like I could tell you that, I mean, maybe a hemp cotton or hemp wool blend might be nice for t-shirts, but honestly, I mean, I'd love to see like maybe but again, it all depends on the blend. I mean, if we're doing 85% cotton, and the rest hemp, I mean, that's going to give you a different feel than something that would be opposite. I mean, honestly, if we're shooting like for a jean material or something, I'd want a heavier hemp, just because the the tensile strength in that. I mean,
tensile strength, one of those parameters we actually can test for. Interesting.
Yep, absolutely. So I mean, and that's really something that you should want, I mean, I'm more than happy to talk to you sometime, off the Zoom. Feel free to send out a message or call. I do have my own extension when you call the toll-free number. And I mean, I'm happy to talk to you about that. I mean, we even worked with another SUNY school. So SUNY in New York State, it's a State University of New York is what SUNY stands for. And there's several different universities, but there was one university that we were working with on actually nano spinning fiber, because of the tensile strength, that because hemp is actually stronger than Kevlar. So we had actually worked on a nano spinning method to spin the fiber to make a fabric that felt like a regular t-shirt, but actually I mean, it would have been bulletproof. Obviously, you'd still have ballistics. I mean, it's but you wouldn't have the penetration just because of the the tensile strength. So it's kind of a fascinating thing. But you have to understand, I mean, what you're going for. Like I farm. I want my jeans to hold up. So I'm going to want like a like a 95% hemp, blend, because I want it to be a stronger blend. Whereas, I mean, it kind of depends on what you want. There's a company that we've been working with that does, compression wear, for like the compression socks, or, compression sleeves, or for your elbow and stuff like that, as far as like an athletic.
We'll be doing all of that.
Mm-hmm.
All fitness wear, outdoor wear. We've got lines for every genre.
Mm-hmm.
So let me jump in a half a second, and I'm not trying to, Keith, Sherry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all in any way.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Like straight up, with what we do right now with the lab, like we've put a lot of time, energy, and effort in developing these methods to be able to test for these parameters, right? And that's what we know. But when someone hits us up and they're like, hey, well, what do we need to do? What do we need to look at for this? Hell, we don't know. We've spent all our time, developing these methods. You can kind of take that same scenario and kind of fit it to Steve, because he may be able to assist a little bit, but he has spent all of his time, energy, and effort being a good farmer and being good at building, this equipment to be able to decorticate, break it down, and get to the raw material. So what you guys very well may have to do is purchase some different, types of material and play with it and actually make some things to be able to best answer your question in terms of that's for what you want to do, to get the real no shit answer. You know what I'm saying?
And I actually messaged, I'm sure you saw it, that we like samples, and I missed that the website and all that. But to not make the meeting go too far along, I would love to speak with both of you. We would love to speak with both of you, because we also, so Oakers Mound, we pretty much own that too, from seed. We're growing in 9 states, the Mississippi Delta. We're growing MS-77 for fiber. What do you know about MS-77? Or do you know anything about MS-77? Is the question.
So, I've actually heard of that cultivar. Isn't it like it originates from Australia or something like that?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, I know of a few people that are doing trials. I mean, I've never personally grown the MS-77. I'm not sure. And I mean, and honestly, like, there's even more that goes into it, because even your seeding rate or planting rate will also change the way the structure of the fiber, because when we plant ours really, really close together, so then all of the fiber kind of supports itself. So when it blows in the wind, and again, that goes into the lignin, because if the wind's coming up and the stalk is trying to bend over, it's going to try to produce more lignin to support itself. So, but when there's a lot of hemp being grown together, it all supports each other, and it actually creates the thinner strings of fiber and less lignin, which makes it easier to process. So, I mean, cultivar is kind of the entry level part to where you have to really understand what grows where you are, and being the location that you're at, that MS-77 works really well. I mean, if you grew it here, it wouldn't work well at all, but
so my wife and I, we're stationed in Chicago, the western burbs of Illinois, of Chicago, but most of the growing is being done in Louisiana, Texas, like I said, 9 states, but along the Delta mainly. We're doing R&D right now to find that perfect area. Like I said, we're brand new at this, and we love it. We love the remediation fact. We're tied in with a few colleges that are helping with that. So we're not just playing around with this. We have our own agronomist. I mean, it's so real to us that we want to make sure, like JJ, like you said in the very beginning, JJ, we want to do this the right way from the beginning.
Right.
Which is why we're on this call.
Yep. And this call is put together specifically for you guys, the new people, like those who've been in here a couple of years. Man, I care about everybody, but I don't really give a shit. Like, they kind of got some kind of idea of what they want to do. They're just trying to hang out, and some of them, some people are vultures, man. They just want to come in and get what they can for free and get the hell out, but these new people, we got to make sure we do right by you, to give you the tools that you need to be able to make decisions fast, make them accurate, and not waste too much time, BSing with the charlatans, and waste a lot of your money. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Save capital, raise capital. That's our motto.
Nice. I like that.
So to make a long story short, we'd like to speak with both of you. Would it be okay if I put in an email address into the chat so that we could all, it'd be great if it was a group chat, a group line for our educational purposes, and to work along with ones like you all and your team.
Yeah. So I actually just put my information out into the group chat. I did do an email address, the website, and the phone number. I'm more than happy to reach out to me, and actually there's a textile manufacturer that we are collaborating with. They actually have ties overseas. They actually have been working in hemp for 4 generations, making textiles and blends and fabrics and things like that. And we've honestly loved what they're doing, and they believe in this Decorticator design. I've shared the design with them so much that they would like to collaborate and set up some of their equipment at our facility. But anyways, they do a lot of really great blends, and I can put you into contact with them, and you can get swatch books from them to actually get an idea as far as what the feel is, and as we progress, that'll be coming out of our facilities as well.
And I'm not trying to take any food out of anybody's mouth, but while things are going on, I can pull it up so you guys can actually see it. There's a piece of equipment out there that combines a lot of decortication. You don't need multiple tables to do different things. I mean, you literally set it, you put your bales in the top, and it spits out fiber from the herd, the mediums from the fines. I've seen this shit work with my own 2 eyes, guys. It's one piece of equipment, and it's I think it's called a pulse wave. I will try to look it up real quick. And like I said, I'm not trying to, Steve, this might be something that you want to look at, as an augment device for your facility as well. But I'll try to look it up real quick as people are talking and just show y'all the picture. And I can go back and post the 1-pager to all the states, pages so people can see it as well. Like I said, I'm just trying to help. And I know there are other decortication facilities that have 1 ton and 5 ton an hour systems that are looking at this piece of equipment as well, because it's one piece of equipment. You know what I'm saying? I'll look for that as, questions are going back and forth. I'll try to find it real quick for everyone.
Okay, thank you both. Thank you all. I want to the link to this Zoom as well, so that I can share it with my team. So be sure to let us know how to do that. Thank you all.
Keith, which state are you in?
Illinois, but we're Oakest Mound, which is founded by Brian, like I said, which is family, is in Coshada, Louisiana.
Okay, so I'm not sure which one of my pages you're on, but whichever my pages you're on, the link to this Zoom will be posted on all of my pages.
Great.
Within like an hour to an hour and a half of us finishing this talk out.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all, man.
We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. Does anybody else have have other questions? I found this this 1-pager on this decorticator, but before I show that, does anyone have any other questions that they want to unmute themselves and ask? Anybody? Okay. Well, if that's the case, I'm gonna go here and do a quick screen. Oh, well, Stanley, here. Let me stop my screen share. Stanley, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Yes, I did. Good evening, everyone. This has been an amazing call. So I'm actually based here in Georgia, but I've traveled the country talking about hemp. And I recently went up to Georgia Tech to talk to a professor at their Paper Institute of Technology. And some of the questions have been answered tonight in regards to decortication, processing. There's a lot of farmers here in the South who kind of got burned out on hemp, and we're trying to tell people that hemp is really a sustainable model for farmers. What can we do to get the South caught up to some of the northern states and some of the western states? What do we need to do as advocates to try to get these farmers involved? Because primarily education is my thing. I try to help. It's free. You know, what can we do to engage and increase the conversation around hemp fiber?
Do you want to go first, Steve, or you want me to go first?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure we could have a lot of fun bouncing back and forth on this one. So, I mean, really the best way to build infrastructure and industry in hemp is education. So, I mean, you're doing the right thing, working with universities and things like that. I'm kind of curious about the some of the conversations you've had as far as the paper processing. I mean, one of the things, like I said, I talked about my field of dreams. If you build it, they'll come, and that was my thing. Like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna open up my first facility, and everyone's gonna be pounding my doors down, wanting to buy my hemp, and that didn't really happen. And honestly, one of the first things I did was chase down this little tiny paper mill that's here in New York State, and and the first thing was I asked them what their specs were, and they didn't know what specs they needed for hemp or pulping hemp. So honestly, I had to do the research and educate them and myself as far as the whole, process of pulping hemp. And I mean, I don't know as far as, I mean, I know there's some great quality hemp paper, but anyways, I mean, as far as the South catching up, I mean, honestly, I think that. I mean, I don't know if this is some insider information. I mean, just, I've talked to a lot of people across the country, and I know that there are a lot of things that are up and coming, in the South. And I think that, there's a lot of things that are going to be evolving, as far as hemp processing goes, in the South. I mean, and honestly, I mean, you guys are at quite an advantage. I mean, even out west, southwest, south of us. I mean, really anywhere out of the Northeast, because we have such a short growing season. I mean, and there's a lot of opportunity for feasible business models as far as hemp in the South. I mean, a lot of times people pitch, like I said, I mean, I know this is primarily about fiber and stuff, but a lot of people talk about a dual purpose, growing grain and fiber. I'm a little torn as far as the grain and fiber end, just because in New York, by the time you take the grain off, it's about ready to start snowing. And so you don't really have the proper time to ret or cure the hemp before you bale it. In fact, if you go onto our website, the cnyhempprocessing.com, I think there's like a slideshow that says the 2017 harvest, and the last picture in there is a bale that I baled that's covered in snow because it actually snowed when we were baling it. That being said, having a longer growing season is beneficial because you can get that dual crop, dual harvest. The only thing is that when you do a dual harvest or a dual crop, you're getting a shorter length of fiber. I mean, you'd hear Nathan got kind of excited about when I was talking about those 8 to 10 foot lengths of fiber. When we were taking fiber that was from a dual purpose, it was 2 to 3 foot lengths. But again, being in the South and looking at blending, there's an opportunity to be able to blend with cotton, and being able to do a lot of products. So I think that there is an opportunity. It's just going to take time. I mean, that's really the biggest thing. Time, naughty 4-letter word.
let me chime in for a second. Stanley, can you hear me okay? Stanley, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you. I was unmuting.
Awesome. Brother, I want you to get out a pen and I want you to write down some good notes, because I am literally going to let you know what the problem is. I am, first of all, I'm not a yes man. I am your man. Okay. I care about telling people the truth, and I call the situation is what it is. When it comes to the South and a lot of states in general, here's what's happening. I know this because I teach hemp 101 seminars across the country. Okay. A lot of people got involved in hemp for the wrong reason. They thought that growing for CBD and medical was going to be as easy as it is growing for fiber. And that is bullshit. It is not true. A lot of people started planting for the wrong reason. They had no idea what they were planting for because they had no idea who the buyer was going to be. So they threw shit at a wall to see what would stick. And that's why people took these L's, is because they didn't have a buyer, right? They didn't have a buyer, and they were trying to plant, and they were taking all of the cost, the input costs, the labor. They were paying for all of this stuff on their own, and the bills were tallying up and everything was adding up, right? And then, because they're traditional farmers, whatever, they're used to paying for everything up front on their own. And then they went to try to sell this stuff like they do at the farmer's market, and they lost their asses. That's the bottom line why a lot of people, in the South, and I'm in Texas right now. I saw this go down in Texas. I've seen it go down in Oklahoma. I've seen it go down in other states. People did not understand why they were planting. So to alleviate that problem in the future, there are two things that I'm going to recommend. One thing that I'm going to recommend is getting my Hemp 101 seminar, my video, my free Hemp 101 video out to as many people as possible for them to watch it. That's number one, I'm going to recommend. Number two, for the state of Georgia, I'm going to recommend you add as many people as possible to the page from your state. For Georgia, add people to that page so they can start getting information, okay? So they can start getting information that is credible and know why they're. John, can you do me a favor and stop chatting me? Because I'm looking down at the screen and I'm trying to tell these people something and you keep sending me messages. Can you please stop? So I need people to understand, the more people you get on that page, the more information is going to be spread to the masses without you having to beat your head against the wall trying to get people to get behind this. Because sometimes it's not the message, it's the messenger. And I'm not saying anything negative about you or anyone else. I'm just saying sometimes the people you're trying to get this message across to, they know you, they know us from another point in our life. They know me from when I used to walk around naked with a lampshade on my head, right? They don't want to hear about hemp from me because they know me from that point in my life. But when you can put them in front of credible information, they can review for themselves. It kind of brings them to the light and brings them back around on their own, okay? So that's the other thing you can do. The other thing that you can do, sponsor me to come to your area, man. Give me some gas money to get in my car. Get me a hotel. I'm from Mobile, Alabama, born and raised, and I'm close to being able to come and see my mom, and spend some time in Mobile, Alabama. How cool would it be for me to slide over to your area and do Hemp 101 and give these real talks in person? You see what I'm saying? That's what it's going to take to prevent people from getting screwed over in the future in the South and other areas as well, where Keith and Sherry are, and just people in general. You got to make sure that they have access to credible information and quality consultation. But here's the problem with that, and Steve can attest to this. Everybody wants your information, but nobody wants the invoice. People will hit me up all day and try to DM and ask me shit on the side, and they think that they're going to answer it. But as soon as I try to schedule a consultation session with them and they realize that there are fees associated with consultation, they don't want to do it. They don't want to pay. They don't want to pay for an hour of quality consultation time. They would rather go try to figure things out on their own and waste tons of time, money, energy, and effort and resources when they could get the answers that they need and the references they need after that consultation to be able to go off and do the things that they need to do. Ain't that something?
Well, you got to be an advisor.
like
agree with Steve.
Stanley hit the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
No, I'm sorry. I said I agree with Steve. I'm a brand consultant for around the world, but and JJ, I agree with you. People don't understand that information is what you're paying for.
Yep, absolutely.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. Thank you.
And if you're not paying for the information, you know, like me, myself, you know, I retired from the Air Force in 2016. So my journey in cannabis began in 2016. And every seminar, every conference, everything that I've done, I paid for all that stuff out of my pocket, right? So it's time for me to kind of start recouping some of those losses, you know? So yeah, I need to be able to, you know, charge a little bit to kind of continue to get information out to the masses, you know? And a lot of people are not willing to pay for that information, but they're willing to go out and fall on their damn head over and over again and lose thousands and thousands of dollars when you could have spent 200 for 1 hour. You know, I don't get that. I don't understand that, you know? So Stanley, that was an amazing question, man. I am so glad you asked that, because that was bro, that was my love language right then. I appreciate you asking that question.
Hey guys, I have one more question before you go into showing them the machine, JJ. This is Keith. How hard is it to do a what's the question? Going from processing with fiber or for fiber and processing for, say, hempcrete. Is that exchangeable? Could we do that with the same crop? Would you do it? What type of information could you give me on that? Because we're going into other products also, and hemp brick, hemp wood, hemp plastics is one or a few of the things that we're looking at.
Keith, I definitely want you to hit me up and get my hemp 101. Steve, do your thing, but Keith, please make sure you get my hemp 101 seminar, because you'll get some good information on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I am going to chime in a little bit on that one. So, I mean, I know that I talk a lot about hemp fiber, and I mean, like I said, bast fiber, that's kind of my wheelhouse. That's my specialty. That's what I really enjoy. So that being said, I mean, that's only 10% of the weight. So what's left over is the hurd. You know, so I mean, it could be a financially feasible business model for you to, you know, decorticate if you wanted to, or just purchase, you know, the hurd. Again, you know, we use the hurd to go into bioplastics, or the hemp plastics. I mean, you can put that into hempcrete. You know, I mean, there's so many options. Again, there's that 25,000 plus uses. So I mean, there's a lot of options, and a lot of opportunities, regardless of wherever you are. So.
Okay. All right.
Real quick.
Yeah, that's going to be an Oakish Mound farm thing. But, you know, like I said, we're all tied in together, and the processes of creating these products, you know, we're just not getting into that language or that space. So, thank you. Yeah.
Keith, real quick before I forget, and like I said, everybody's different on their journey, on their path, and I don't know where everyone is. Do you know what is required to make hempcrete?
With my small resources or researches, I have basic information, so I'm gonna say no.
Okay, so let me do a quick screen share to kind of, you know, help out a little bit and just give you this real quick, just so you know. So when I kind of kicked this thing off, I was talking about, you know, the difference between bast fiber and hurd, right? So to make hempcrete, you know, you need an organization like Steve, who has the ability to decorticate and get the fiber separated from the hurd. Hempcrete is a combination of hurd, lime, and water. Okay, and when you take hurd, lime, and water and mix them, you know, together, it makes a substance called hempcrete. Here I am at a seminar actually making a batch of hempcrete. We had some herd, we had some lime, we had some water, we mixed it up, okay? And there's an actual project that I'm involved with here in San Antonio, Texas right now. My buddy Amos Lozano is building a juice bar out of hempcrete. So this is the floor.
Nice.
This is a normal wooden floor, but in between there, instead of, insulation, that's hempcrete in the middle there, right? They put the walls up. And then once they put the walls up, they put forms on the outside of the walls, and they poured this mixture into those forms. And that's how you build hempcrete walls. That's what it looks like when you remove the forms, but then you make entire walls out of hempcrete. So that combination of herd, lime, and water mixed up and then packed into the walls. They actually have spray applications for it now as well, where you have machines that will actually spray hempcrete, into walls. And this is kind of what the finished product looks like on the inside. And my buddy Ray
I'm sorry, I lost your volume, JJ. I don't know if anyone else did. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost the volume, so.
Yeah, I can't hear you, JJ.
hello.
There we go.
There you go. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry about that. I had to
That's
switch
okay.
over to use hotspot on my phone. What was the last thing you heard?
The finished product. You were showing the finished product.
Okay, yeah. So I'll just go. Build, here in San Antonio.
It is
Texas.
muted again.
Yeah, we're losing you, JJ. You're back, but we're losing you.
Yeah. Wait a second. Hold up.
I can hear you now.
Let's see. Okay. How about now?
It froze.
Yeah. Losing you, JJ.
Hey, Steve, this is Crystal. Is it better to be focused on one thing more than multiple things?
JJ is back.
Okay, good.
Oh, Crystal was asking a question.
Sure.
Go ahead, Crystal.
Okay. My question was, is it better to be focused on one thing more than multiple projects? Because you're talking about your ride or die per se is the cord, right? And I was looking at it because JJ got my husband and I so excited about hemp when we first met him back in March. I'm looking at all the different aspects of hemp and taking it, with me back to Hawaii to help build, because we import 90% of all products. And we have issues with the land because of the sugar and pineapple plantations in the past. And so is it just better to try to stay focused on one type of a product than multiple products?
So, I mean, that's tough because, I mean, if you're getting into processing, I mean, the biggest, I guess the best advice that I can give anyone that's getting into the hemp industry is know what you're good at. Know what you enjoy. I mean, if you, I mean, I didn't anticipate that I wanted to, get into hemp fiber or getting into textiles. I mean, but that's what I got excited about. I mean, so, so that being said, like I said, I mean, like there's a lot of avenues in hemp. I mean, if you're excited about, about hempcrete, like we touched base on hempcrete, then focus on that one avenue because that's something that you're excited about. I mean, I really enjoy fiber, but there's a lot of byproducts that come off of it. So, I mean, having a diverse portfolio just kind of makes financial sense. But really just focusing on what you do and do it well, I guess. I mean, I don't know if that's the best answer, but that's one of the reasons why I get out of bed every morning and love what I do. So.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you very much. I'm trying to get my niche down as far as what specifically we're, what rabbit we're chasing with Alice.
And it could change. I mean, I joke around when I do presentations at universities where I talk about my first business plan was 8 pages and it was the best business plan, and I was going to be a millionaire within 3 months, and that didn't happen at all. I mean, and I mean, we were making heat pellets like you burn in a pellet stove, and again, I thought like I was gonna, because we were using the herd to make heat pellets. Northeast, biggest thing I worry about is how I'm going to heat my house for 9 months out of the year. So that's where it was, but it evolved into so many things. I never in a million years would have thought that, we'd get into bioplastics. I mean, for a little while, we were pressing oil from the hemp seed, doing cosmetic products. And I mean, again, like I said, that led to animal feed, that got me in the Hemp Feed Coalition. I mean, there's so many things. So I mean, and honestly, if you look at my business plan now, it's 45 pages, and I'm still not a millionaire. I mean, actually, my one of my mentors there, JJ, Richard Rose, he said his definition of hemp is dig a big hole and put a lot of money into it. I don't want to discourage anyone. I don't want to discourage anyone from getting into hemp, because even though I joke around that it's a naughty 4-letter word, it's actually, there's so many benefits. And like I said, like the quality of my life is so much better. I mean, like I said, I may not be a millionaire, but I mean, my bills get paid, and I'm happy. I mean, I think my happiness is more valuable than the money. So find what you enjoy doing. That's all.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and I'll be in contact with you for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. I spoke with Richard this morning, by the way. I had a couple of things. We were talking about FDA stuff and, testing standards and stuff like that. So we had some good conversation this morning, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
I never know. I mean, usually when I get a hold of Richard, he just sends me a beautiful view from his back porch or something, and I just put my nose to the grindstone, and one day I'll be at that point.
Yeah, for real. Does any? I mean, we've been out here almost an hour and a half. Like it's been really good. Does anybody else have any questions? For Steve, I really want to be respectful, of his time. Steve, brother, I really appreciate you coming out here. Doing this. Gonna be looking for that JJGRO promo code. You know what I'm saying? What you got in the cup, bruh?
It's coffee. I got to stay awake. It's late here.
Yeah, I got you. So does anybody else have any questions for Steve before we disconnect for the evening? Crystal, mahalo. Thank you so much for being out here, as well. Thank you to everybody who came out here. I think I looked and I saw 16 people. Out here at one time, so that just says that a lot of people are interested, in this subject. And, if anyone, I put my email in the chat a couple times, but if you need to get in touch with me and you want to do some consultation, like I said, everybody wants the information. Nobody wants the invoice, but if you willing, my email address is James, JAMES @JJGRO.com. James @JJGRO.com. Steve, before we get off, you want to give the people how to get in touch with you one more time?
Sure. Yeah. You can go onto the CNY Hemp Processing website. I mean, honestly, that's probably the easiest way. So CNYHempProcessing.com. I know I talked about My Hemp Depot. Actually, there's a shop button at the top. You can click on that if you want to check out the products. You can subscribe, check out the Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I'm on LinkedIn. I mean, there's a ton of ways. Right now, unfortunately, COVID has kind of swept through, everybody here. So it's an opportune time to get a hold of me, because it really doesn't matter what way you message, whether it's social media or email, it's going to go to me, because I'm it right now. I'm wearing all the hats. So it's a great time to get a hold of me.
Nice. Hey man, I heard about this stuff, to keep you strong, keep you healthy, keep that, immune system boosted. It's called CBD. You may want to try some of it.
There's got to be 24,000 other ways, though.
Nice. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Steve, for your time. You know, I've always Godspeed. Wish you the best. You need anything from me, brother? I got you. You know, let us do some testing for you, get some things figured out. And everybody else, I hope y'all have a good evening wherever you're tuning in at. And we'll see you somewhere at a conference, or, you know, I know Stanley's going to fly me out to Georgia. You know what I'm saying? I'm come down there and bring the thunder. You know, the hemp is coming to Georgia. Stanley's going to make it happen. I know it. So with all that said, y'all have a good evening and y'all take care. We'll see you somewhere out there.
Thank you all.
Steve. Okay, then. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.